Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. In this video I want to discuss whether or not Ethereum is a security. So if you've been watching the headlines, you may have seen that there is a SEC hearing tonight to discuss this very topic. So what is the Ethereum blockchain, how did it come about, and what are the issues that may push it towards being a security or not being a security at all? So to start off with, Vitalik introduced this concept of Ethereum in 2014, and some of the language he used in the initial stages definitely leaned towards it being a security. So they had an ICO at the time. There was no such thing as ICO, so they called it an IPO, the same as traditional investors raise money, and they used that language of looking to get investors to raise funds, and that certainly leans towards it being a security by the definition of the Howey test and other similar definitions. But as the Ethereum blockchain has evolved and become very decentralized now, that definition and what it is has changed significantly. So we now have Ethereum virtual machine running 15,000 nodes around the world, sharing computing power and resources. And this has changed in terms of what it is. So the Ethereum founders and creators and those people that initially launched this concept and raised funds, now they actually now own less than 1% of all Ethereum. So Ethereum comes into creation through proof of work, through all the miners that maintain the network. And that's one of the key concepts that the SEC will look at. So whether or not the creators exert significant influence over the value of Ether, that's the definition. And the Ethereum Foundation, as I said, they have very little say in how the networks run, who's doing what with the proof of work. They own less than 1% of all Ether. So I think the argument can be very much made now that it is a decentralized network, a way to decentralize computing power and run applications on top of it. It's very different to that centralized, maybe those humble beginnings. Now, one thing that's been made clear by the SEC is that they're not looking at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a medium of exchange, and that's definitely not the focus. But we've also had SEC Chairman Jay Clayton say that, well, Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't really the focus here. It's more the tokens that we're sort of looking at to judge whether or not they're securities. Now, so far, the SEC have clamped down and issued subpoenas and whatnot to the bad ICOs, the really bad actors, fraudulent scams, all that sort of thing. So they're not really, chasing any big projects yet. And I think it's just too much of a leap for them to go out and chase Ethereum. It's been around for a few years now as well. Very complex, and I don't think that we're going to get any clear outcome tonight. I think this will be the first in many meetings. It's just too big for them to crack down on this, particularly when they've said themselves that they don't actually employ any programmers and they're not tech experts. They're trying to roll with the punches and find out how this landscape is going to evolve. Who's responsible for even creating the laws, regulations, and frameworks, or are we trying to apply existing laws and frameworks in each country? Some people have classified this as a security, some as a property, some as a commodity, and we're very much learning that a square peg doesn't fit through a round hole. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do have to say. But I think there's far bigger issues. The SEC aren't simply there to crack down on cryptocurrency. There's way bigger issues in the financial world, regulation, corruption that they should be dealing with. I don't think this is one of the biggest issues that they want to, just stamp out. They want to let this technology flourish. They know that they're going to miss out on a huge wave of innovation if they push all of this out of the US. The best minds will move to those more friendly jurisdictions. So I guess my message is that no, I don't believe Ethereum is a security in its current form. I don't believe they're going to be backward looking a few years. I don't think we're going to get any clear outcome anytime soon. So nothing to panic about just yet, but we're going to be very interested to hear what they say, the language they use, and what can come out of it, because they might go from those fringe projects and start moving in towards the bigger projects and look at the criteria, give us some set frameworks about what they feel are securities and what are utility tokens that get used in those projects. So I hope that's a reasonable explanation, guys. Please hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts and comments below about whether or not ETH is a security and other tokens built on top of Ethereum. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.